Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am working on a fun layout with these pictures. This is my daughter Taylor. She recently turned 18, and for her birthday we went up to Flagstaff to a place called the Cinders um, with our family and our boyfriend's family to do some dirt bike riding. And you'll see, I'll tell you more of the story about these as we go. This is my oldest son with his first aid kit. It'll all make sense. I'm going to be using papers from the Weekend Adventures, Stampin' Up, as well as an older pack called Sweet Days of Autumn. This is from last year's, but it has some of the same colors as the Weekend Adventures, and I needed some additional papers to complete this one. So let me show you real quick these papers. It comes with 3 double-sided sheets of paper. You've got the green with the trees, and then the back side is a cream, almost like a light yellow with acorns. I'm going to use the green. And then you've got this orange and black plaid, which I really love. I tried to incorporate it on this page, but it didn't work right. And then this is black with white pinstripes on it. And then the last one is this brown with the footprints and compass on it. And the other side is blue. And I also was going to use this. I thought about using that, but it's not the right color blue. So I quickly decided against any other papers other than this green one. So I do have quite a lot of scrapbooking to do with these pictures. This is just a page specifically for my daughter. So I'm going to try to save as much of this green paper as possible. So I'm going to bring in these cream sheets. Looks like I need to trim them down a little bit to build my layout on, because I'm going to cut into this green paper. Oh, excuse me, Coda. I'm going to cut into this green paper. It's going to be my base layer, but I want to cut off as much of it as I can to use it on other layouts. So I am going to bring in this tan, this cream color, just to build on, so that I am able to do that. And then once I decided on this green trees paper, I am laid out my photos. I am following a sketch. I'm not going to show it to you. It's a sketch for part of a group that I'm in, and it's not a public group, so I'm not going to share all of the details about it. And I am changing it up as well, so it won't be exactly the same. But I want this one over here. I love this picture of her. I want that one over here. And then this one will go here, and this one will go here. And then these ones, are going to go like this. So Taylor has recently begun riding dirt bikes and ATVs with her boyfriend's family, and this was our first time all going together. And I've always said, if I were to put money on who was going to get injured, it would be Taylor. This girl's fearless. She always has been. And she kept up with the boys. They all went to go up this really, really steep hill, and she did it. But when she got to the top, she hit kind of a berm, and it caused her to flip her ATV. So it didn't roll over, but it did flip to the side. She fell off. She injured her elbow right here, and then you can see she injured her leg here, got some cuts and scrapes. This is from an injury she had horseback riding a few days before. So this girl just beats herself up. So I laid those out and then decided I wanted to figure out what to mat them in. So I pulled out some yellow and some pink, because her helmet is pink and the bike is yellow. And so what I did was I just laid them all on here and snapped a picture of it in yellow. And then I did the same thing with this pink. And then I looked at them on my phone, and I decided quickly that I liked the yellow much better. So I'm going to mat them on the yellow. However, I am going to put them on white first, which I've already cut. So the way I'm going to do this is I want both of these to be on the same mat like this. And same with these ones. And when I went back and looked at what I really wanted to do, I actually wanted them all on one piece of white, but I don't want to waste paper, and so I'm just going to put them right next to each other like this. and you won't really be able to see that seam between. And then I also cut a mat for this one right here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with these. So they're going to take up the same mat. I did trim, these photos are 3x4. I did trim them down a little bit because I didn't want them to be, my mats to go any bigger than a 4x6. And then same thing over here, they'll go up like this. So once I had that done, I went ahead and cut my mats out of the yellow paper. So I'll bring in these yellow mats. I did make them with a good border on the edge. Originally, I cut them down so that they didn't have quite as much of a border, but then as I kind of worked through what this layout was going to be, I did some stamping techniques that I'm going to show you here in a minute, and I wanted more of that technique to show, and so I've cut the mat bigger. So that one will go here, and then I have one for this side. So I'm kind of showing you the order that I built this layout. And then I'm showing you the changes that I made as I built it. So this is how I started. And then I had this one, and I had a mat cut for that one as well. So this is where I was. Then I decided I needed to figure out the rest of my pattern papers. And this is where I started to bring in some of the other papers from this pack. So I tried this one first and slid it under here. And decided that I don't really like the orange against this brown. And then I was thinking my title is going to have some brown in it, and I was thinking about inking the edges in brown, and the browns just were not the same color. So I put that one aside, and then I brought in this one. And it's okay, but it's not my favorite. It doesn't really go with the theme of what I'm trying to tell in this story. It is a better color, and that's when I decided to turn to my other paper packs and see if there's anything that came in the past that I have in my collection that would complement this. And I pulled out this pack, The Sweet Days of Autumn, and started flipping through it. And I knew I didn't like that one. And I'm really looking for a brown, and then I came across this. And so I pulled this one out and slid it under there. And I decided that I really like that. So that's going to kind of go on each end over here. So I put that there, and this is where I decided that I wanted to do some stamping on this yellow piece of the mat. We'll do that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut down and add it to the layout. Let's add these in here now that they're cut down. So it's going to go like this, one on each side. And then I wanted to add one more strip in between the two colors. And what I was really looking for was this blue. And so I tried a few things, and then I went digging through my stash, and I came across this little piece I had, scrap, and I kind of slid that in there like this so I could see it. And that was okay. But then I was not totally happy with that, and so I went back to my stash, and I found these by Basil Basics. These are probably really old. I got these at a garage sale years ago in all different colors, and I kept them. They're just border pieces, all different kind of shapes and sizes. And in this pack, I found this, and so I did the same thing. Take that out, and I kind of laid that in here like this. And I really like that. And I can just cut that right down the middle, and I'll have one for each side. So I will go ahead and do that, and then be back. All right, let's add these in here. They're just going to go right underneath this. Give it a little bit of ruffly flair since this is for my daughter. Get that all lined up here. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. And then this is going to go like this. And then same with this one. Put this over here. Now that I have those down, I'm ready to do some inking on my mats. And you can see that I've done some already on the smaller picture. I did leave the mat on this smaller photo on the thinner side because I didn't need it to show as much as I do on the other pictures that I feel are more important to the story. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my glass mat and all of my supplies, and I'm going to show you how I inked up my mats. So I'm bringing in a couple of different colors here of ink. I have this Acorn, which is a close to my heart color from a while ago, and this Memento, which is just a brown that I picked up at Joann's. And I'm going to bring in a little piece of paper. This is how I test to decide what colors I want to use on my layout. I just take this strip of paper and turn it upside down, open up my ink pad, and I just press down on it to get a little bit of ink. And then I let it dry a little bit, and you can kind of see what the color is going to look like. So here I've decided to go with the Acorn. I didn't want my brown to be quite as dark as that brown was. So I'm going to use my blending brush here, and I've put some on the brush and then onto my glass mat, and I can continue to pick up ink off of this glass mat as I use it. I'm going to lay down my mat. I'm going to pick up some ink here. Sometimes I dab it off onto the paper. Sometimes I just dab it onto the glass mat first, like I'm doing here, and slowly bringing it in from the sides onto this edge. And you can see the ink stays on that glass mat, so I can go back and pick up more when I need it. And if I need even more ink than what's on my glass mat, then I can re-ink on my ink pad. So sometimes I'm going straight to the paper, and sometimes I'm putting some on the glass mat first. I want this to be I don't want it to be uniform. I want some parts to be darker. I want some parts to be lighter. I don't want it to be even all the way around the edges of this. I kind of want it to look like it's been run over by a dirt bike, if you will. So I'm just going around the edges and picking up some ink off of my glass mat and putting it onto this paper. So you can see already what a difference that's made. Now I'm going to take my brayer roller and I'm going to roll it onto my ink pad. And I'm just going to roll it right over this paper, and it leaves a really unique texture, different than the blending brush did, and it just really makes it look like it's been run over. I don't mind the harsh lines. It's going to be covered by the photo. As you can see, I've already done this and added it to this picture, so this one that I'm doing for you here is just so I can show you how I did all of this. But I do think it makes quite a bit of a difference here. This is my oldest son, Justin, and this is his first aid kit he picked up. It's basically an EMT level first aid kit, and he has it fully loaded up with everything we could possibly need. So when Taylor came back from her ride and was all scratched up, he went and grabbed his first aid kit, and we opened it up and used all the things that we needed to clean her up and get her all wrapped up and ready to go. And she was back on her bike, her ATV, within 5 minutes of this whole ordeal, and she was spinning donuts. So she is one tough girl. So before I do all the inking on the rest of the yellow mats, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges of my white mats, and I'm just taking my ink pad and running it right along the edges very carefully of these papers. It just leaves the faintest line, but I hope you can see here how it just makes the white stand off of the yellow just a little bit, and I think you can see the photo pop off the yellow mat just a little bit better with that inking. I've gone ahead and finished inking my 2 yellow mats. I'm going to set this aside for a minute. I'm going to get all of these pieces laid out and ready to adhere down. I did go ahead and ink the edges of my white mats, being careful to only ink the outside edges and not the inside edges that are meeting each other in the middle where that seam is, because I want it to look like it's on one piece of paper. So I did go ahead and do that. Let's get these yellow mats put underneath here. I just love these pictures of Taylor riding, and she was having so much fun. Here you can see I did not ink that inside edge because they're going to go together, and I want it to look like it's on one piece of paper as much as possible. I could have saved those pieces of paper for another project, but I'd already cut them, and I would just rather use them and not have to hang on to them for the next project. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. This scrapbook is really for me and my family to look at, and I don't mind a few imperfections here and there. So we're going to go ahead and lay these out like so, and I'm going to get them adhered down, and then we're going to add some embellishments to this. The first thing I want to add, though, is my title. And I knew what I wanted my title to say. I was kind of thinking about it while I was going through these pictures and editing them while I was watching TV. And it came to me that I wanted to say, ride like a girl. Because in this case, if you're riding like a girl, or like Taylor, you're riding pretty darn rough. So I asked ChatGPT to make me a title, and this is what it came up with. I did ask it to make a few changes, such as making the ATV yellow and the letters, the ride letters, brown, but I really do like it. So I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm going to bring in these templates that I have. These are from Kiwi Lane. They're shaped like mountains, and we were up in the mountains of Flagstaff, and I was thinking I could add these to the bottom of my layout just because I do want to incorporate that we were in the hilly part. We were not in Phoenix. We're not in the desert part of Phoenix. We're up in Flagstaff. We're going through these hills. They were very steep, some of them, and I want to show that. I also have this template from Kiwi Lane with the chevron, and I was thinking of maybe doing a few of them across the top. And then this little arrow I thought was cute, maybe pointing to, I don't know, something. And then I found this that is technically a gear, but it kind of reminds me of the tires, and I thought I could tuck it in a few places around. All of these are things that you trace and then cut. I've done Kiwi Lane for a while. I found it a while back, and I don't do a lot with it, but I do really love it. So if you're not familiar with Kiwi Lane, I'll link it in the description. You go check it out. They do have some fun things. It's a unique way of scrapbooking. So I'm going to mess around with some of this. These mountains I really wanted to do. I think I'm going to do it in this kind of this tan color. I don't know if you can see the difference, but this picture, there is dirt. We're up in the mountains of Flagstaff, but this is the cinders. It's volcanic ash from an erupted volcano, and so it is dark gray, kind of black. It's really, really thick and real coarse. It kind of hurts your feet. You can't walk barefoot on it. So I was thinking if I did this tan color and then used some inking technique like this with some dark gray, that it might bring in both colors there. So that's what I'm going to try. Okay, let me show you what I ended up with. This is the first page. I did end up doing the chevrons. I didn't like how thick they were. Let me pull this back in so you can see it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I didn't like how thick they were, so I cut them, and then I cut them in half. I put them on two of my clusters. I did use the wheel as well. I actually really liked how it came out. I cut it out. I traced this template and then cut it out. I did not cut the middle out because I wanted it to look like a tire. And then I cut a circle using a punch with this gray colored paper, and then I inked it with the same brown as I did everything else, just to make it look more dirty, if you will, and to give it some texture. I then decided that I didn't like my title in all brown, so I changed it back to the words being black and the outline being black, and the rest of this being brown. I like that better, and I made it a touch bigger. I did use the arrow. I added an arrow here, and then I was going to add another one, but I didn't like it other places. And I have my 3 clusters, and I figured since I didn't do the chevrons over here, I would just do the arrow. And then I added my journaling. I added it to vellum. I actually put 2 pieces of vellum under here so that it would be a little bit darker, because my printer doesn't print on vellum real dark. So I added that with a really nice story. And then I added my QR code here. And if you scan that with your phone, it'll take you to a video of Taylor riding her ATV. And it is unlisted, so nobody else can see it unless they scan this. So And then I took it out to my older son to look at, and he said, it'd be really cute if you had like a little silhouette of an ATV riding on these hills. And so I went back to my Cricut and I cut these little guys. They're hard to cut because they're kind of small. Those little pieces are small. I actually wanted them to be a touch smaller, but this is the smallest I could get it. But I do think that was a great idea. It adds just a little bit like they're actually writing on it. So this one is done. I say this in every video. I'm a pretty simple and clean scrapbooker. I don't do a ton of layering when it comes to my embellishments. I don't add too many. I'm learning to add a little bit more because I do love a good embellishment cluster. But for the most part, my scrapbooking is pretty clean and simple, nothing too elaborate. I do love to do some more elaborate things, but in general, I do more simple things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see videos that I post in the future. And if you'd like to catch another video, I've linked one in the end here so you can click on that and watch another one. Until the next one, bye.